Okay, who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Michael. I was born and raised in Florida.
Okay.
Moved out to Colorado in 2018 and currently have a web development agency. So we build and manage websites for SaaS companies. That
Okay.
just means software as a service. So any companies out there who sell software, usually the companies are around 150, 200 employees. So they're pretty big. When I started, it was serving like just building websites for local
Yeah.
restaurants or gyms, whatever.
Do you charge a flat rate?
Now we do.
Okay.
Not back then. And
Yeah.
those types of businesses don't necessarily have massive marketing budget.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a good play to get out of that and go more to larger companies. Now there's a flat rate subscription they can sign up to.
Do you
And
accept anyone who pays your price, or do you have like a criteria that you want to meet for people that you're helping, or what's the deal
pretty
there?
much if they can just afford the tiers. So like there's two set tiers, and then there's one that's like if they need something bigger, it's custom. But the we have two set tiers. It's basically if they can afford it or not.
Gotcha. Okay, so you lived in Florida. What kind of stuff did you do in Florida? Like, where did you live? And I don't know. Like, Florida's cool. When I think of Florida, I think of Florida Man and the Everglades and alligators and all that kind of stuff. So, like,
It's about what it was after school, hunting down alligators, falling out of trees, and
yeah?
getting knocked down.
Have you gone alligator hunting before?
I was too young then.
Okay.
When I moved out with my family, when we moved out, so I was too young then. But I'm going back one of these days to get that in because all of our cousins still live down there.
Gotcha.
And they're all the time hunting alligators, hunting wild boars.
No way. Did you ever get into hunting or like fishing or anything like that, or no?
I was never massive into hunting, but I was real big into fishing.
Okay. Like, what kind of fishing did you do? Like bass fishing?
There's a lot of bass fishing, especially down in Florida. The bass fishing it's great down there. So occasionally like deep sea fishing, but it was more like freshwater fishing I was into.
So you were 19 or 18 or 19 when you moved to Colorado, or how
No,
old?
like 14.
14?
Yeah.
Wait, you moved here in 2018, you said?
I did?
Oh, maybe I misheard you.
Maybe I did. I mess up years all the time. So we moved out here in 2014.
14, okay.
I'll take it as my bad.
That was my bad.
And so yeah, I was 14.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Born in 2000?
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I get dementia when I'm older, I don't have to remember my age.
I was born in the 1900s. I feel so old. Oh my goodness.
Well, I almost was. I was January 16, 2000.
Yeah.
So just into the new year.
Okay, so how long have you had your business for?
So that's kind of a whole story in and of itself. So I officially started it in 2020 as a freelancer. So I was just freelancing. But so I had graduated high school in 2018. And I was trying to figure out, like, what should I do? Should I go to college? Should I not?
And what year was that when you started, like, the freelance stuff?
2020.
Okay.
Yeah. So after I was graduating high school and I was trying to figure out whether to go to college or not. And I decided, I'm just going to take a few years off, try my own thing. If it works, great. If it doesn't, who cares if I'm going to college a few years late? And tried a few things that didn't really stick. It was like all over the place. Like while I was working part-time jobs, I was just trying network marketing, affiliate marketing, like a whole bunch of things. And then in 2020, started freelancing, building people's websites. First website sold was like for $200.
Were you cold calling people, or did you have friends that needed stuff done, or like?
It was a combination of hitting up local businesses, and also there was this platform called Upwork where companies all over need stuff done, so they post jobs there.
Gotcha.
So you just go and apply.
Yeah.
So that's where that got started. First website got one that was actually on Upwork. Sold it for like $200, which was real low.
Yeah.
Slowly prices kept ramping up. And I remember
how long did it take you to build that first website for $200?
It probably took like way too long. It was probably minimum wage. Probably it probably took like 3 full days.
Okay.
So the person got a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. Like $10
they were like
an
a
hour
copywriter.
Or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great. So then, and what do you remember? What kind of business that was? Is this mostly B2B stuff?
In the early days, it was kind of all over the place. Yeah. Nowadays, it's B2B. So, well, actually, no, yeah, it is B2B. So all the companies were businesses that I'm building the websites for. Yeah, so that was B2B. This was for like a copywriter.
Do you know if that original business is still using your website?
I don't think they are, because I think they were a freelancer too, and they fizzled out in like the next 3 months.
Oh, no.
So
but
they didn't get it.
What kind of business was it? And how did you get connected to that first one just to get started?
So they were copywriters, so they would like rewrite companies' emails.
Okay.
So that's like what copywriting is. You just write for other companies. And she was a freelancer. And she basically posted this platform, hey, I need a website. And then I basically came in and goes, hey, I'll do it for $200.
There you go. So, okay, so you moved to Colorado. And so you started your business in Colorado, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then did you go to high school around here?
So it was under a school in Greeley, but it was done homeschool. So
gotcha.
I was homeschooled.
What kind of curriculum? Wait, so it was through a public school?
No, so there was like a private school in Greeley.
Okay.
That they had like a homeschool portion of it. I'm not actually too familiar with it.
Were you homeschooled since you were a young child, or was it just for high school?
I went to kindergarten, and then after that was all homeschool.
Yeah.
Strictly,
yeah. So,
all 12 years.
So then your first gig was $200, and then what happened after that?
So after that,
how did you build, and then what are you doing now?
So after that, it was just like constantly applying to jobs on that platform. Within like 3 to 6 months, I became top rated on the platform. So that helped me get access to even more jobs.
What's the name of the platform again?
It's called Upwork.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you can think of it as like Fiverr, basically.
Okay.
You probably know what Fiverr is, but I remember the first job that I hit $1,000. So I sold a website to $1,000. Basically, every time I got a new project, I would just hit them with a higher price until they started saying no.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how things went for the first few years. And then 2-3 years in, I decided, hey, I'm going to start looping more people in this, try to build an agency where I'm not the actual one building the websites. I just work on the business.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of where we are today. Companies pay a flat fee per month. And it's basically like they have a remote development team.
So you charge a monthly rate.
Yeah.
So you're getting recurring revenue.
Yep. Got to get that recurring revenue.
Okay. And then what are they getting month to month just to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, fix this or update this, or hey, we want this feature on our website, or what?
Yeah. So definitely, it's exactly what you said. It's recurring revenue, and it's reoccurring, which that definitely took away the feast or famine I was having up until that point. So it's reoccurring, and underneath the subscription, so they pay a flat fee per month. They get to make unlimited requests to their website. It gets unlimited revisions. We go through like one at a time to kind of handle load, but they do that exact same thing. Like, hey, we need this integration set up. They just Slack it over to us, and then we respond within just under an hour. It's usually done within that day or the next 2 days, so it's really, really fast, and they love it because it gives them all that support, and they pay less than what they would pay for a full employee.
Yeah. And how did you initially acquire the skill set to start doing this?
I was into tech ever since I was like a teenager. So I was that guy that was getting into people's Wi-Fi.
You just had a natural inclivity towards it, or like how did you even learn that you even liked it? Like, what do you remember the first thing that you did where it was like, oh yeah, I want to keep doing this?
So somehow I found out about coding. I forget exactly why. So I started like coding things on my laptop and whatever. But I was always into tech. I was always into computers. Like down in Florida one time, somebody couldn't access their Wi-Fi password. Yeah. I went into another room in just like a few minutes came back and had the Wi-Fi password.
Way.
No, actually, they didn't have it.
You hacked the mainframe.
They didn't have it. Yeah, pretty much. So here's what it actually happened. I forget. It was actually this. We were out of Wi-Fi at the moment. Yeah. And our neighbor, we could detect the Wi-Fi on our computer, but it's locked. Yeah. So I said to my parents, I goes, hey, if I can get into their Wi-Fi, can we then use their Wi-Fi? Yeah. And they didn't think it would happen. And they're like, oh, sure, go have at it. You can try to get into their Wi-Fi. I came back like 5 minutes later, and I go, hey, we have their Wi-Fi now. I got in. And they go, you can't do that. That's stealing. We're not going to use that, whatever. And then I was like, you said we could.
So did you just Google how to do it? Or like surely you didn't just miraculously, spontaneously come up with an idea of how to get into how to discover their Wi-Fi password or whatever. Like, how did you figure out how to get into it?
It was I mean,
You don't have to give away
it's a
like trade
mix-
secrets or
It's
anything.
a mixture of just Googling things, playing around with things. I think so. I tried a few attempts on their password, like trying to get into it. I
Yeah.
think when I actually got into the password, I actually just guessed it right. So
Okay.
that kind of doesn't make it sound as sexy, but yeah.
Yeah. With that kind of stuff, do you have to have like specialized hardware, or is there a software that you download that helps you with that type of stuff, or what?
There is technically software. It gets pretty nitty gritty. So like basically a network will send information back and forth. So you can basically use some sort of router to
Yeah.
basically pick those packets of information out of the air. It doesn't intercept them. They still get through. But now you have a copy on your system. All you have to do is like decrypt it if you can.
Yeah.
And now you have anything that was in there. So any login information.
So
and
do you?
There's actually hackers. So they'll put these things called Raspberry Pis in their backpack. Just a
Okay.
little computer chip with like an antenna on it. And they'll just walk around
Yeah.
the public places. They're collecting all this data. They'll then go back and try to hack it.
Okay.
Get access to people's usernames, accounts, passwords.
No way.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
if you, let's just say you're an average person, you have an iPhone, you're at Starbucks doing like some business. How secure is somebody just browsing the internet or doing business on their laptop or iPhone or whatever?
Usually, if it's an iPhone, it's pretty safe because they're pretty
Okay.
locked down to begin with.
So
But
you
if you
don't
have
think-
if you have an Android, it's more open. You can download anything.
Huh.
Then people, I know people with Android are always getting scams installed on their phone.
So the Android guys are full of BS, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Everyone needs an iPhone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It is funny.
So do you... Okay, well that's like, that opens up a whole can of worms. How much do you know about hacking itself? Or is that just like a separate thing from what you do?
That's about the extent of my knowledge.
Okay.
I'm not too big of a hacker, but it would be fun. But it's just so time consuming, and then things change all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly fixing patches and everything. Like there was this one glitch Apple used to have where you could get into anybody's computer regardless if they had their password set or not.
No way.
Yeah, it was any
boy.
computer you wanted to, pretty much.
Wow.
And then they patched it, so obviously that you have to learn new methods and stuff. So
So
I'm only familiar with the methods I was looking into when I was younger because I
Yeah.
kind of let that go. But
So of the major phone companies, you would say Apple has the best security?
I would say so, partially because everything's closed down. It's a closed ecosystem. Like you can only download apps through their app store.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to change because of European laws that are coming out. But like Android, you can download apps anywhere you want. So it's basically like your computer. You have to make sure it's a safe website you're downloading it from, because if it isn't, it's just going to destroy your whole system. Although, funny enough, what's that company? Is it BlackRock?
Yeah.
But they do military stuff.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch. There's like,
I know BlackRock is like a private equity
no, that's the
firm.
private equity firm. What's the one that they do military contracts?
Man, there's a bunch.
Has black in it. I forget what it's called.
I don't know. Good
Blackstone.
question.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's Blackstone, which is different than BlackRock, and anyway, but so it's
This guy was on the PBD podcast that I was listening to,
okay.
and what was I gonna say?
Is it hacking related?
Oh yeah, this is what it was. So he used to be a Navy SEAL, and then he started this massive company that then did billions of dollars in revenue with military contracts. He retired from that, and he now launched his own phone with all of these security features about it.
Yeah.
One of the things is like with our new phones nowadays, you can't like remove the battery, so it's like technically not always off. So he was like, okay, he'll fix that. He put a little switch in the side of the phone. You switch it, and inside it actually physically disconnects the battery. So if you want to go completely off the grid,
Gotcha.
you just hit the switch.
Okay.
So maybe that phone's more
Wait,
secure
but it
than
disconnects
Apple.
the battery so your phone doesn't work anymore?
Until
do
you
you
flip
mean?
the switch back on.
Right. Okay.
Because like with all of our modern phones, you can't take the
Gotcha.
battery out like you used to.
Okay.
So it's
okay.
technically, it could still be on, or there are parts that are still on.
Hmm.
So that phone's probably more secure than Apple, but like its App Store has hardly anything on it, so nobody's going to use it.
Well, I would imagine if you're building websites for brands, especially if these are like big brands, like especially once you're talking multi-millions of dollars, I would imagine they want security to be a priority. So is there like, are there just certain, do you use how would you say it? I guess, do you use like a standard kind of website building software, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do
And
that.
it just has built-in security into it, or what?
Yep. And especially, we're not building
Especially
their
with
actual,
like payment processing
right.
and all that stuff, I would be concerned if I
Yeah.
had a successful business. But
So we work with software companies who sell software as a service. So there's kind of two parts. They have their public website that they use for marketing, like landing pages and things like that. Then they have the back end, which is the actual software product. So they have their own devs and engineers who work on that part. We just build their front end, so their marketing website.
yeah.
And that we use a platform called Webflow. So there's tons out there. There's tons of website building platforms out there. In our industry that we work in, Webflow is a really popular one, and that it just controls all the security. It actually isn't much security you have to worry about because it's only the front end part. But
Gotcha.
yeah, if we're using payment processing, usually we're using integrations.
Okay.
That company is now controlling the security because security is massive. If you mess up on that, there goes their whole
Yeah.
Well,
then
business.
your brand or your business reputation might even take a hit from that, and so I would imagine
That too.
You're right. Okay, so Upwork is the name of the site that you kind of started on, and
Yep.
so then you started charging $1,000, and you kept just going up until people said no. Did people ever stop? Did people ever start saying no to you, or like at what price did you kind of cap out, or are you still kind of going?
About at around 5 to 10K is when it started slowing down.
Okay.
And at that point, if you're charging even more for your website, you almost kind of like need a whole team. So like someone who's really good at design, someone who's really good at development. So that's
Do you have a team?
Yeah, I have a team.
Okay.
Now, and they're an amazing team, and we only do development, so we don't really do design much anymore. But 15K is kind of where it started slowing down. Like you have to really get serious if you're going to go past that.
Yeah.
Now with our reoccurring, it's like a 4K a month subscription.
Okay.
But the LTV on that is around like 30, 40K.
What does LTV stand for?
It stands for lifetime value. So they're paying 4K a month right now. Lifetime value is around 30, 40K. So they're staying around for many, many, many months.
Yeah.
So they're basically like now $30,000, $40,000 projects.
And how many clients
if you add
do
it
you
together?
have?
So this subscription is actually fairly new. So there's only like 3 or 4 of them, but we're pushing it really hard right now.
Yeah.
So that's around 15K a month in reoccurring revenue.
Yeah.
That don't count all the other side projects.
Gotcha.
Like the one-off projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then is this occupying pretty much all of your time? I mean, or is this a pretty passive business, or what does that look like?
So I do it full time.
Yeah.
And I'm working with a mentor right now. We're dialing in the marketing, dialing in the sales, and all the operations. And we're just going to start throwing gas on the fire on lead gen on this new service specifically and just ramp that up.
Is that mostly going to be like Facebook ads, or what does lead generation look like for you? Do you outsource that to another company that finds leads, or what?
So no, we're actually building the lead gen process ourselves, and then I'm going to have a guy do all the tasks. So I'm building it, and then once we have the whole frame mapped out, then I'm going to give it to a guy that's like $10 an hour, and he's just going to do all the outbound. But there's different forms of lead gen. There's like directly outbound where you're going out cold DMing people or cold messaging people or cold calling people, and then you have the ads. So we're going to do the outbound. So we're going to go and do a combination of cold messaging and cold calling on LinkedIn because we have this really good process built, and that's been pretty successful for us in the past. Once we dial that in and then we start learning more about what the acquisition cost looks like how much we're willing to pay like to acquire a new customer, then we'll make the switch to like starting to flirt with ads a little bit more.
Yeah.
Once we have those numbers dialed in. Because then the ads can be really beneficial, but if you don't know your numbers, you're just going to throw money into the fire.
Yeah. Did you have a mentor that kind of showed you how to even get all this started? Did you just figure it out on your own, or what was the origin story of all that?
So in the beginning, it was just a lot of figuring out on my own. So I was graduating high school and I was seeing all my buddies going to get their like dream jobs. And I was like, oh, this sucks. I don't feel like doing it now.
Did you go to college?
Fast forward, I did not go to college. Okay. No, because this then worked out. Yeah. And which is great. I wanted to start my own business after college anyway. I was like, why go into all that debt? So
yeah,
didn't go to college, and then
you sound smarter than the average college student.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much all the experience. When you're getting customers screaming at you, that will make you smart pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You'll learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
But what was the question again?
Well, did you have a mentor? Or did you
Oh,
basically
yeah.
just kind of figure it all out as you went?
So in the early days, it was definitely just figuring it out, and YouTube mentors is what I call them. So just watching YouTube videos.
Okay.
And then in the recent years, I've been actually working with various mentors. I started working with a new mentor this year. He's a fantastic guy. He's based in Oklahoma. He's part
in
of
the same field as you.
Yeah, so he is a partner in 2 agencies. They're doing like $800K a month in one of their agencies, and then he's a part of like 8 other companies.
Yeah.
But so he's actually the one helping me through this process of dialing in the marketing and everything. And then
How'd you get connected to this guy?
I was following him on Instagram for a while.
Okay.
And at the time he had like a mentor, some sort of program you could buy. I bought it, and then that's how I kind of like got my foot in the door.
Okay. So you bought a course that he was teaching basically online. Yeah.
His mentorship program is what it was. And now I got my foot in the door, and I go to his house like every month now. So
In Oklahoma?
in Oklahoma, yeah.
He flies you out there? Do you pay for
I
travel?
pay for it.
Or what? Yeah.
I fly
But
out
it's
there.
worth it, it sounds like.
Yeah, if you buy the tickets a month in advance, they're pretty cheap.
Yeah. That's cool. So what do you do in your spare time, or is it basically is right now just everything devoted to the business?
Right now, 80% of my time goes into business. Like I'm just grinding, and I'm using. Do you know who Alex Hormozy is by any chance? So he's a big business guy on YouTube, and he says use your 20s to pay down your ignorance debt. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just grinding, but I do love fast motorcycles.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw you pull up in a motorcycle. I actually just got my motorcycle license. So not last summer, but 2 summers ago. And I have an old, it's like a retro 1986 Suzuki Savage. So
Oh,
it's like
there you go.
big kind of
Yeah.
retro looking cruiser. It's yellow. Looks like a bumblebee kind of. But so it's a sweet looking bike. However, maybe it's just because the bike is old. But when I first got my license, I rode it for like a month. And it was really fun, especially because I had a very short commute.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed if I had to drive more than 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, this is actually pretty scary. Part of it was because I wasn't wearing a helmet. But also,
there you go.
I in the first month, I had more than one vehicle just pull out in front of me, or the wind starts blowing, and I'm like, I can feel my bike sliding on the road. I don't know, dude. It freaked me out.
I can tell you some pretty crazy stories.
Go for it. I got time.
So
bro.
I was recently in Denver, and there was So this is actually a benefit of having a motorcycle. I was in Denver.
Yes.
And got caught in this protest. So it was back when the elections were happening, and there was a Palestine protest.
2022
happening.
or what?
No, our Colorado elections we had for the primaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recent.
Well, this
year.
was real recent, 2 months ago. And,
Gotcha.
And there was a big Palestine protest going, so all the traffic was backed up. On my left-hand side, it was a big chain link fence, so you couldn't turn down any roads on that side, and it was all residential on the left-hand side. So all the traffic was backed up. I sat there for 5 minutes. I was like, screw this. So I pivoted my bike on the kickstand and just rode back through traffic. All the cops were watching me do it, but they're just let him go.
Well, what are they gonna do? They're stuck too.
That's the pro of having a motorcycle. But on my way out of Denver, I almost got pushed off the road by this little old lady.
Oh,
I'm
no.
going down through traffic, and then out of my peripheral vision, I see all of a sudden a car coming straight at me. I looked over, and this little old lady's just sitting here like this, driving, and she's about to push me off the road. And then I just quick sped away to get out of her way, and she's probably like, oh, this little idiot going too fast on the roads.
Yeah. Have you had any super close calls, where you were like, oh man, I could have just really got injured just now, or
I've
worse?
had traffic sometimes just stop like that, and usually I follow at a safe distance. But I'm sliding, fishtailing like crazy to stop. Actually, recently I was in Fort Collins. I was actually going to the cigar group.
Okay.
And out of nowhere, it started hailing. I knew rain was on the forecast, but I didn't know hail. Out of nowhere, I just ran into this wall of hail.
Right.
Immediately, the whole road was slippery like crazy. I'm going about 40 miles an hour. It wasn't too fast, but my whole back tire starts fishtailing out the side. I was like, all right, today is the day I go down for the first time. It didn't quite happen, but
that's what freaks me out. It's so weather dependent. if the roads are wet, if you hit a patch of gravel that you didn't see coming, or black ice, or the wind's blowing too hard, or like a dog runs out in front of you or a deer runs out in front of you. It's like there's so many things that are like, oh God, it's scary. Like I remember when I was riding, it was almost too stressful to actually just like enjoy. And so I just stopped doing it because I'm like, I don't know, a car just feels so much like I have so much more control over it. I'm like insulated and protected. Like when I'm riding a motorcycle, I just feel like completely vulnerable and exposed. But I don't know. Like, I guess that's part of the excitement is like you're kind of risking.
And plus,
something.
you didn't have a helmet.
Well, yeah,
you might feel a little safer in a helmet.
Yeah. I don't know.
I actually know a guy. He used to test gear for motorcycles. So the helmets,
boy.
The jackets, the pants.
That's a dangerous job.
He has 70 or 80 official wrecks.
Yeah.
Under his belt. So basically, how it would work is he was actually one of my instructors when I took my motorcycle license course, and what they would do is so he worked for a company that other motorcycle companies would like send their gear to get tested. They one day had these pants that needed to be tested to see how much it will withstand if you fall off and slide.
Yeah.
So the manager comes in and goes, "Okay, guys, we got these fresh new pants. It's going to be $5,000 per ride. You got to do 3 rides today, and you basically have to go down the track, hit 70 miles an hour, and then ditch it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully the pants work as good as they say." So he let his buddy go first. The guy got going to 70 miles an hour.
But hold on, it's three rides and you're getting paid $5,000 per.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good money.
He was making good money.
Yeah,
so.
But you're still kind of risking your health and life.
Yeah, the $15,000 ain't that much if you get real injured.
Yeah.
But he let his buddy go first. The guy hits 70 miles an hour, ditches it, falls, skids to a stop. He's like looking at him. The guy gets up and goes, okay, nothing's dripping. So good, it's my turn now.
Nothing's dripping. Oh my gosh, yeah.
So that was his day. He actually has so many crashes. He's like a boxer where, like, after a career of getting hit in the head, they're a little bit squirrely.
Yeah.
That's this guy.
But surely they have, like, the best. Surely he's got, like, other than the pants, he's probably got the best jackets and, like, the best.
Oh, yeah, he has a whole 9 yards on,
yeah.
Except for the pants they're testing.
Because they make those, like, I forget, I don't know what they're actually called, but, like, the jackets that, like, inflate. Like, they have, like, airbags on the inside, and, like, they've gotten pretty sophisticated with the safety and the technology of, like, the, equipment and stuff like that. So that's good. But still, cool. It's like, oh, man. I don't know. I thought I was too cool for school. I just wore, like, a leather jacket, and I was riding, and yeah, whatever. No helmet. Like, yeah, Wild West style. I'm like, no, this isn't.
I only rode without a helmet one time, and it was when I took someone on the back to give them a ride, so I gave them a helmet.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, if I fall,
well, yeah,
this is going crazy.
And that's a whole other dimension to it, because if the person riding with you doesn't know how to ride, well, then it throws off your balance, and, like, there's so many little things that can mess you up. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. It was too scary for me. Maybe I just need to grow a pair of balls and give it another shot, but I don't know. And also, that bike was just so old. Like, it was...
that might be part of it, because if you have a good bike, it's literally like the faster you go, the more stable it becomes. It's weird.
Yeah.
At least that's how sport bikes are, which is not a good combination, because then you just want to keep going faster.
Right. Yeah, mine was like an old cruiser and stuff, but... Yeah. Okay, so you started building your team there, and then when did you decide to add, like, your first... Do you have employees, or do you contract? Do you have subcontractors, or how does that work?
I have contractors, because it keeps the expenses down.
So you don't have any, like,
don't have to pay employee
full-time
benefits.
employees.
Yeah, I mean, some of them they're working quite a bit, but they're not technically full-time. Cuts down me having to pay employee benefits and things like that. So, like, one of my developers, he's in Nigeria. The other guy's in Sri Lanka. And then one guy, I don't use this guy much anymore, but he was in Texas. And then I'm hiring a new project manager, and they're based in Connecticut. So it's kind of all over, all remote. Yeah.
And then do you have to, like, rehire these, because they're contractors, do you have to rehire these guys every time you have a new project? Or is it like you just call them up and be like, hey, this is what I need done? And...
So one of my devs, I have 2 primary devs. One is he's on retainer, so I know I have him for this much per month. 'Cause
Devs is a developer?
A developer, yeah.
Okay.
And then my project manager is going to be on retainer too, so I know I have these people around, and I know exactly how much I have of their schedule. And then one of my other developers, he's kind of, we pull him in if we're getting overloaded or whatever. So he's more kind of project based. But actually, we're going to be ramping up soon, going into a growth season, so I'll probably be pulling him in on a retainer too.
Okay. So how do you know that you're going to be going into a growth season? Is this just based on like the history of the business and like just future projections, or is there a reason that you think things are about to kick up a little bit? Or
Well, because we're not really doing much in terms of lead gen now.
Okay.
So once I already know kind of like the numbers of what we were hitting in terms of like new accounts when we were running this lead gen. We kind of stopped it temporarily, and now we're gonna just go double it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be just pouring in leads a lot more. So that's what I mean by growth season. Because also my mentor's help me dial in the operations and things like that. So he's helping me too. So a growth season's inevitable.
Gotcha.
When you got a guy with that experience behind you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely helps to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. That might be useful.
Yeah, he's like, so what's your numbers on this? And I'm like, I don't know. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your childhood like? Your family upbringing? Was your family influential in helping you kind of get this business started, or was it totally just independent, your own idea? But also, like, you know, what was your childhood like? Did you have a good childhood?
I did, actually. So I'm super close with my parents. Growing up, like, early on, like, when I was, like, a little kid, or not, like, up to, like, teens and stuff, we're actually, like, pretty, like, financially tight. So, like, we had to learn how to, like, if we wanted to, like, save money, we had to, like, build something so that we could sell it, whatever. So that kind of sparked, like, the idea that, oh, you can just make money. Like, if you need to, you can make money by, like, providing value to somebody.
Yeah.
Also, my dad, he used to have his own businesses throughout the years.
So you were basically forced to be ambitious, industrious, and productive and that kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, like when I was real little, I wanted an iPod.
Yeah.
My parents were like, okay, if you want the iPod, you're paying for the iPod. So I like saved up money, figured out how to build things, sell them, and then after a while, I had money for the iPod, went and bought it. So it was kind of like, it was that independence I was like built through those tough times, which is a great lesson, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure as a kid that sucked because you're like, no, I want it now. Why don't you just buy me a freaking iPod? Or was it an iPad or an iPod?
iPod. So it's like one of those old iPod
Just
touches.
buy me a freaking iPod for Christmas, Mom. But no, the fact that you had to work for it on your own, a lot of parents, I feel like today, a lot of parents just want to give it to their kids.
Right.
And I'm not saying necessarily that's a bad thing, but it's like you're actually robbing your child of an opportunity to learn something in those moments, I think.
Yeah, you're taking away the lesson of learning delayed gratification, which if you want to do anything big in life, it's not going to happen immediately. So you have to be able to put in the work, not see the results right away, and see the results come at a later point.
Yep, absolutely. So it sounds like your parents are still together is what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, they're still together.
Okay. Well, it's funny because the first three, my first three guests, you're my fourth guest for the video for the YouTube channel, but my first three guests all had daddy issues. Either they were adopted or one
Brendan.
of them. Yeah. So Brendan was adopted, and then Elizabeth, her dad passed away when she was young, and then Scott. What happened to I think his parents just got divorced at a young age, and he never saw his dad. So I'm like, why are all these successful people just don't have dads? I'm like, I think it just forces you to come into your own and just overcome difficulty. Well, but for you, it sounds like where you had to overcome difficulty was your parents just forced you to make your own money, and if you want something nice, then you have to go out and get it, you know?
Yeah. One of the reasons why I think a lot of successful people, they had, like, household issues growing up. I think some of that's actually why they're successful in life. Like, it sparked some of that drive to, like, do something big.
Yeah.
Which makes people think, oh, does that have to happen in order for, like, you to do great things? Like, I had a good family or whatever. And no, because I'm a prime example of why even if you have a good family is a good thing. Like, it can springboard you into success into life, which is making me think of through those lessons of what I learned early on in life, because, like, my family didn't have much money. it makes me think, like, how can I replicate those lessons to my kids, even though they're going to be much more like taken care of. Like it would be easy to like, hey, I'll just buy you this, but I'm talking with mentors and everything, trying to go through that phase of what that would look like, because you still want them to get good get these lessons.
For sure. Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't right now.
Have you had a girlfriend in the past?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So what are you looking for in a spouse? Well, okay, here's the number one thing. If I was in your position, I'm making, I have a successful business, I'm doing well at a young age, I would be concerned that any girl that I date or talk to is just interested in me for money. Like, how do you avoid not just basically just finding a gold digger that seems super sweet and nice but is really just trying to hop on the train,
Yeah, I know, right? I feel like
not in a sexual way. I mean, like hop on the train like financially and just
I know what I'm saying? I know exactly what you're saying. I don't think I consider myself making that much money right now or that's a massive issue.
Oh, come on.
But it's definitely going to be an issue over the next like 2
years. You're 24?
24, yeah.
Any 24-year-old doing the type of revenue that you're talking about, like relatively speaking, that's very good for your age. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of gals out there that would hear that and all of a sudden just be like, oh yeah, I really like this guy. You understand what I'm saying?
I know, I see that because it's happened a few times.
Okay. Do tell. I was
down in Tampa for a business conference the other day.
Yeah.
And there was this one girl down there. I was like, oh, she's definitely trying to throw some hints here.
Okay. All right.
But
is that in and of itself, was that a red flag for you?
Sometimes, yeah.
Just throwing a couple of hints, that doesn't necessarily.
That wasn't a big red flag, but like it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And that is something I've been thinking through. Like you do have to watch out for that. That's crazy.
For sure. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that, not even necessarily just a romantic interest, but just people in general that want to get something from you or whatever. And I don't know. You always got to watch out for that kind of stuff. But no, it sounds like you have a good family. You have people. You have friends that care about you. And anyway, so that's good. But okay, so like, what's next for you? Like, do you basically just see what you're doing on an upward trajectory? You want to stick with that for a long time? Are there other businesses that you want to start at some point, or like, what's next for you?
Right now, it's
like
just,
in 10 years from now, what do you see yourself doing?
It's definitely going to be something in business. Whether how long I have this business, I'm not sure, because I'm ultimately building this business to like potentially exit from and sell.
Okay.
So I'm building it with that mentality. That forces you to have processes and document everything you're doing, so that when somebody wants to come in and buy it, they're actually buying a machine that's working like without you. So that's why I keep trying to hire people. And the whole goal is to eventually where I'm not even involved with day-to-day operations and the whole thing's running like a machine. So that's that goal, is to build this up to sell, and then obviously start another business, preferably next time with like a partner, because things are a lot easier that way.
Yeah.
But
you have to be careful about how you choose your partner, though.
You do, yeah.
Because it can be great, or it can be the worst thing you've ever done.
I've heard both. I've heard some very bad stories, dude. Trust me.
Yeah.
But if you have a partner that complements you, like where you have weaknesses, they kind of complement you and they are strong suit there, and then vice versa, you can just like compete in the marketplace like, way better before. And like I'm super competitive. That's why I'm in business. Like we're here to just crush the competitors. Like get them out of the way.
So why do you already assume that you're going to sell the business? If it's a well-oiled machine, it's working without you having to put much effort into it, why not just stick with it and just let it continue generating revenue, or versus like trying to sell it? Like why do you think that selling is the end game there? Is there another a different type of business that you want to use that money to invest in?
That's what I would do
if
I did exit, because obviously if it's making money and you're out of the day-to-day operations, that does sound great, but also you're going to get a way bigger like cash if you just sell it for like one lump sum.
Right.
To like just infuse yourself with like investment capital for the next thing. So like I want to over the like next 2 years build this up where it's doing 8 figures in revenue. So that's 8 figures in revenue. Now imagine if you sold it and that brought in like a 10x multiple.
Right.
Like I'm the sole owner, so that is just going to infuse. I'm just going to have tons of cash to invest in the next opportunity. And there's other companies I would like to start that are more like product based or
Yeah. What do you have your eye on that you would want to invest that money into? Or is it just kind of whatever comes along?
It's kind of whatever I see as an opportunity right then, because I'm really big into business, not necessarily like a specific business. Like I see little mom and pop shops, and they're very attractive to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if someone who knows what they're doing in business were to be a competitor, like you would just destroy everybody.
Yeah.
So I know one guy, he started just like an excavation company with his dad, but the guy knew business real good.
Yeah.
And within like a year, they had a $30 million company, and they're just defeating everyone else in this space because they were all mom and pop shops who didn't have systems and processes and marketing and everything. They came in and just like crushed the competition.
Yeah. Dude, I know so many people with excavation businesses that make so much money.
Oh, really?
I'm like, is that all it is? Just buy a freaking excavator or lease an excavator or something? I'm like, why is that? That particular business, for whatever reason, I know so many people who are in the excavating business and they just make crap loads of money. I'm like, what is that? I don't understand. But I guess enough people need it. There's enough new construction in this area maybe where it's a viable option for a lot of people. But
well, the whole like construction and that whole thing is just crazy right now. Like I know one guy, he started a welding company, and him and his partners, and within 1 year they had it to like $1 million in revenue, and this was only like recently.
Yeah.
Right here in Colorado.
Within 1 year, you said?
Within 1 year, they did $1 million in revenue.
Golly.
Spread apart, like I think it was him and two other partners.
Yeah.
But still.
I believe it. Yeah. I remember, so I used to work at a car dealership, and I would buy used vehicles to resell at the dealership. So I'd try to buy them at a cheap price, and then we'd resell it for a profit. So that's what I did for the car dealership. And we had these guys come in like freaking sweet, like lifted trucks, like huge tires, and like just like I'm trying to think what years it would have been, like 2018, 2019, 2020s, like just these sick trucks, like 2500, 3500 GMCs and whatever, lifted, perfect condition. Anyway. And so I'm like talking to these kids, and I'm like, how old are you guys? And they're like, oh, I'm 19. I'm like, you're 19 years old, and you have a fleet of trucks, probably, like, just from what he told me, just the vehicles that he had were worth at least $500,000 to $1 million, right? So they have like over 20 trucks just in their fleet. I'm like, golly, and the way this kid's talking, I'm like, okay, he's making a lot of money, and he's 19 years old. I'm like, what kind of business are y'all in? He's like, I'm an excavator. Like, we have an excavating business. I'm like, what? Why is excavation such a big deal? I don't understand that, but anyway.
Is it becoming more and more attractive to you by the day?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, golly, I need to get I don't know if you need a license for that, but maybe you do. I don't know. But then I know other kids. Like, there's a kid that I know who his dad owned an excavating business, and he's inheriting it. But he works for it, and just rolling in the cash. I'm like, what the heck, dude? But that's a lot different than what you're doing. Yours is more like technology related and software, and that's just like literally, you know.
Well, the pros of excavation is AI probably ain't gonna impact it too much.
I mean, unless the excavators get
right
infused with AI and then they just do it on their own. But if you own the equipment, then you're still making the revenue.
So what's funny is that guy I know, he wanted to start a business with his dad to give his dad a business because like he was more knowledgeable about business than his dad. So he built up this excavation company with his dad, built it to like $30 million a year.
Yeah.
And then goes, all right, Dad, you can now, we're gonna slowly just let you run it. And then the dad was like, as they're building it up to $30 million a year, the dad's like freaking out going, what are you doing? This is going to break. We're going to get sued. And then like when he handed it over to his dad, the dad just brought it back down to $2 million a year.
Okay. So on a different note, you're I would say you're at your age, you're successful at what you're doing, but, what are you doing differently than most 24-year-olds that has gotten you to where you are today? Because most 24-year-olds are smoking weed and frankly jerking off in their parents' basement and just wasting time with their life and play video games or whatever. What are you doing differently that sets you apart from the average 24-year-old?
I would say it's my drive to develop myself and to learn learn new things. So like I have this like 3-step process I live by: learn, execute on what you learn, and then develop connections with people. Because
the execution part is
that's the
really
big one.
That's lacking. Yeah, everyone has dreams and ideas, but no one actually follows through with it.
Yeah, because I always think of the graves are filled with people, young guys who had just as much ambitions as me, but they weren't like a successful person that you heard about. So like, what's different there?
Yeah.
So I guess so for me, it's just constantly learning new things, reading books, going to events, trying to invest in myself, because you yourself have the highest ROI of anything. And if you learn new things, you learn how to learn new skills, learn how to make more money.
Yeah.
You're never going to lose those skills. It's just going to keep coming with you. And then obviously you got to execute on what you learn. Some people, even me at some point, it's easy to get into this cycle where you're just learning to get that dopamine hit. Like you're not actually doing any work, doing any money-making activities. You're like, oh, I'll just watch another YouTube video or read another book. So you can get in that endless cycle. So you got to execute on what you learn. But then I've learned the power of knowing people in strategic places. So that's when it comes to networking with people, building up your network, which is why I go to I try to go to a lot of events to begin with, business events. Not necessarily the content. Content is great, but you get to meet amazing people. Like I was in Nashville last week for an event, and after the first day I went to a cigar lounge just to spend the evening. I ran into this elderly gentleman. He was like 65, owned 8 companies, is worth millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And we just like talked business for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So like having those conversations and constantly being in a learning mindset is, I think, one of the big things. Another one is realizing that you don't have as much time as you think.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just go out and party and have fun, thinking you have all the time in the world. Next thing you know, you're 30, 40, whatever you want. And you're like, man, this went by fast.
Yeah, for sure. What time do you wake up in the morning?
So that's kind of, it ranges anywhere from like 5 to 6 to 7, depending on like when I got to bed the night before.
So it ranges from really early to early.
Yeah.
What do you do when you wake up? You just drink coffee and read, or do you work out, or what do you do? What's your morning routine?
Yeah. So it depends on how early I get up. If I can manage to get up early, I have kind of a thing I go through. If it's kind of more on the 7 o'clock end, usually I just hopping straight out of bed and getting to work and everything. But if I get up around 5:30 to 6, so I go get coffee, and then I have this Zoom Bible study group that I do for like with some other men for like a few minutes, and then after that it's like a quick walk to just get the body moving.
Is that every morning you have a Bible study, or is it just certain days of the week?
It happens every morning. I don't make it every morning, but it's there. It's some friends that do it. They're pretty. The one guy who heads it up, he's really consistent. They're every morning except Sunday. I hit it a few times a week.
Gotcha.
But then I just go for a walk for about 30 minutes. That gets the body moving and gets some sun, which is really important in the morning. And then it's just getting to work, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you ever just
It's funny, I don't have that mapped out as my morning routine.
Yeah.
That just happens to be the morning routine. I hear people that go, oh, I don't have a morning routine, and then they outline everything they do, and I'm like, dude, you just outlined your morning routine.
I mean, it's good to have some type of structure in the morning. Like if you don't have a goal when you wake up, then it's easy to just lay in bed until you have to get out of bed. You know?
Yeah.
So like if you're not just like, hey, I'm gonna wake up and work out, or I'm gonna wake up, at least drink a cup of coffee and pray, or something like that. You have to have something that you do when you wake up that just like pulls you out of bed. Otherwise, you're just gonna lay there until you have to get out of bed. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
don't know. I feel like that's some type of structure is important. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just gonna waste your time. But okay. So do you? What do you do for entertainment? So it sounds like you smoke cigars. Do you watch like a lot of TV shows? Do you drink alcohol? I don't know, like what do you just do just to relax and hang out?
Yeah, so I love whiskey.
Okay.
So Old Fashions is my favorite drink.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah, I'll sometimes.
Do you make them at home, or do you go out to restaurants?
I usually go out when I get Old Fashions. I don't make Old Fashions at home. Usually, if I'm at home, I just drink it straight or on the rocks.
Yeah.
But so I love whiskey, smoking cigars. Not a.
Yeah.
not a ton of like. I like YouTube too, so like some
Yeah.
YouTubers. So like I'll a lot of times watch that before I like sit
But
down.
a
and
lot
watch
of that
full
is
movie.
educational, even still. Right? I would assume, like, if
Well,
you're
I have
watching
some
YouTube.
funny guys on there that I watch.
Well, okay. You're watching comedy. All right.
Yeah, I watch some comedy. There's this one group people. They're based in like New Zealand. They create funny like gaming skits that are hilarious. So I'll watch them every now and then.
Yep.
But usually it's either staying in or hanging out with friends.
Yep. Well, that's funny because, like, even smoking cigars and drinking whiskey, generally speaking, even that can be like a networking thing. Like if you're smoking cigars with somebody, that's usually like business talk or at least building some type of relationship with someone who you respect,
Actually, to be honest, it's what I kind of funnel a lot of my out of work activities is stuff that kind of at the end still kind of starts coming together.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I just go out and have like fun or party or whatever.
Do you golf?
Recently I started, yeah.
Yeah?
But even that was like with the intention, I was like, all right, people here at the golf courses are going to have lots of money. So let's,
for sure.
Be a good networking opportunity.
That's why I brought that up.
Yeah.
That's a very, like, and it's something you can do when you're 70 or even 80. 80 years old, you can keep doing that. And
you can combine cigars with golfing too. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Both John Daly style.
Time. Yeah, right.
That guy's one of my favorite people ever. Okay, and then I don't know. So we're kind of out of time here. Is there any final words of wisdom that you would give to kids your age or younger, like, people who want to be successful in their life? What are maybe a couple pieces of advice that you would give to kids that hear about you, they're inspired by what you're doing, they want to make money themselves, they want to start a business? Like, what would you tell a teenager or someone in the early 20s who's just trying to get started and figure out how to make money?
I would say the first thing is, if you can, find somebody who's been there and done that, that's kind of similar to what you want to do, because they already have the map. All you have to do is follow it. You don't have to like chart your own map through life. And then the second thing is just enjoy the process along the way. It wasn't until I like made that switch to enjoy the process that things became like a lot easier. I wasn't like as like my mind thinks 100 miles a minute. So enjoying the process and knowing, hey, what I'm doing now, I'm not going to see the results of until in the future.
Yeah.
And being able to enjoy the process, because I have the trouble where a lot of times just be constantly thinking in the future. But you got to have to dial that back, enjoy the present, and enjoy the process. And once you start enjoying the process, the whole journey just becomes a lot easier.
Beautiful. That's a good way to end it. All right, Michael, I appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this, brother.
Yeah, anytime. Happy to be on.
Yep, thank you.